So you've all heard the story, right? About what happens on July 4th?
Well, it's the 4th of July, so I thought I'd tell you a I Know What You Did Last Summer forgotten sequel.
Ah, damn ghost.
He's not a... Here's I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer.
You really want to do this now?
So we meet Amber, who's making her boyfriend Colby randomly tell their friends on a Ferris wheel about how the hooker goes around on the 4th of July killing teenagers. And the friends are like, oh shit, we're teenagers.
You want to freak everyone out?
And as they walk around the carnival, they talk about people who saw the hooker, then went missing. But this carney's like, don't worry, we're in the landlocked state of Colorado. Not a lot of deep sea fishermen around here.
We're in the middle of nowhere!
Then this guy PJ skateboards over to say hi. He's in the ROTC program and tells the carney that his dad's going to try to get him to join too.
Is his dad a recruiter?
No, it's the carney's uncle. And apparently he's not really a carney. He's Lance, one of their friends who got a job with a traveling carnival for just a couple of days while they're in town. So Amber wants to take some group pictures, and when she does, the hooker comes up behind her.
I'm gonna hook you!
Colby pushes her out of the way, but gets his arm cut. Everyone runs screaming, except PJ. He skateboards away, and then runs to the top of the football stadium. For some reason, he stands on the ledge, and of course, the hooker goes after him.
You got no place to hide!
PJ then decides to skateboard down the side of the ledge and jumps about halfway down. Then the hooker fucks off before the cops can find him.
Where'd he go?
You lucky I shoot you!
Amber, Colby, and their friend Zoe run to the parking lot where the hooker comes up behind them and disco dances.
And get jiggy with it!
This was their friend Roger, who dressed up like the hooker to scare their other friends.
So their friends are dumb enough to believe that the exact urban legend that they were talking about just happened to show up minutes later.
Yes, stupid. What were you thinking, man?
But they come to find out that when PJ jumped, he got impaled on a tractor, and he died.
I think he's dead.
He also landed in the opposite direction his body was falling.
That's not possible.
The thing is, PJ was in on the prank and expected the whole town to believe that he's the type of guy who would skateboard away from a killer, then run upstairs instead of literally anywhere else at the carnival, then would skateboard away from the killer and try to perform a sick jump to get away.
It's brilliant.
Now they did put some mattresses down for him to land on, but apparently some farmer thought they were taking up some player parking and moved them.
Who moved the mattresses?
So instead of just riding the ledge to a safe level, he thought, aim for the tractor! And he died.
The man's a genius.
So the 4 kids in on the prank go out to the woods and vow to never tell anyone what happened. Only problem is, people saw Colby get cut. So he takes the hook and slices his arm open, completely forgetting that the cops are going to find corn syrup at the attack site.
Same stuff they use for pig's blood in Cary.
Colby then throws the hook in the lake, and Roger puts the slicker in the campfire, and then they all watch it burn while it releases several toxic fumes.
And in this small town, these people never mentioned that they were being told this story just minutes before the killer showed up.
It would be absolutely, totally, and in all other ways inconceivable.
Then almost a year later, Amber goes to PJ's grave, where apparently he was the only person to die in the last 50 years.
This place didn't have a murder rate until you people showed up.
And despite her wanting to move to LA to be with Colby and work as a photographer, she then shows why she shouldn't by taking pictures with her finger over the lens.
You're gonna kick ass out there.
She then heads to a party on a farm where that Lance dude immediately humps her leg.
Maybe you need somebody to carry your tripod.
Every guy in history who tried to pick up on a girl did the good friend thing first.
Her friends come over to tell her about some cute guy, but not that her long-distance boyfriend is there. Apparently, his internship fell through, so he moved back to work at the local pool.
Everybody here wants to get out of this hellhole.
But he didn't bother calling his long-distance girlfriend to let her know he'd be back all summer because he was planning on dumping her.
Happy 4th of July, babe.
So he lied to her for a full year just to dump her the second he saw her?
Yeah, pretty much. But you do gotta give him some credit for doing it in person. But doing it at a party in front of all her friends? That's fucked up.
Oh god, it was sick. Everyone saw it.
So he got to be single out there in LA by himself while he kept her around as a backup?
That, and also, after not seeing her since spring break or even Christmas, he's seriously not gonna try to bang her one last time?
You don't deserve a penis.
He blames their breakup on the accident they covered up, so she goes off to cry for several hours until Deputy Hafner comes up. He's all, you know you can call me if you need to talk about anything. But she's like, gross, I just graduated high school, you old perv, and drives off. At home, she sees an envelope with her name on it by her bed. She opens it, but it's just a note from her parents saying that they're out of town. Later that night, she wakes up and thinks somebody's in the house. So she grabs an old lady cane and goes downstairs where the kitchen alarm clock radio goes off and she's like, oh, thank God. That alarm that wasn't going off when I was upstairs and oddly set for 11:21 p.m. must have been the reason I thought somebody was in the house.
You know how terrified I am of your IQ.
But then her cell phone that this teenager left downstairs after a breakup gets a text, and it says, "I know what you did last summer."
This is a death threat.
I mean, a text just seems lazy. I mean, he didn't even break into her house or anything.
Well, what if I told you he sent 50 texts?
Eh.
Okay, but this is 2006, before there were keyboards on phones, and the hooker had to hit the number keys until the right letter popped up. Now, doing that 50 times takes dedication.
That's how much he gives a shit.
So she goes to Zoe's midnight band practice in the barn that she lives in to show her.
No one is gonna believe us.
The next day, they go to show Roger the texts. He works repairing ski lifts, which seems like a weird summer job since the ski season would start at mid-October at the earliest. But he comes in and acts all pissed that they would even talk to him after what happened. Then when they show him the texts, he acts all butthurt that Colby never calls him anymore.
I always knew you were a dick.
He also suggests that they come clean with the cops, which is fucked up because it was his idea to just let everyone think that PJ died bravely skateboarding away from a hooker.
You can call it an accident all you want, but he died because of us, that's certain.
But what would have happened if they told the cops that it was a prank that went wrong?
It's manslaughter.
And since the sheriff is PJ's dad, they're pretty damn sure they'd go to jail.
We're gonna fry no matter who takes the fall.
Anyway, because they just broke up, Zoe goes to tell Colby, who says Amber's just trying to get attention to get him back. But when Zoe accuses him of sending the text, he freaks out and says that Amber isn't his problem anymore.
I know what you did last summer. Ooh.
Then after endangering the lives of children by leaving the pool unattended by a guy who's just there to meet girls, he goes back to his lifeguard stand to see somebody spelled out, "I know what you did," in water on the ground.
He's just fucking with us.
Then Amber must assume that she might only have a few days of freedom left because she goes to the mountains to take some pictures, when it's clearly gonna storm. Now she's in the middle of nowhere, but after taking a couple, she turns around to see that someone slashed the tires on her bike. So she walks her bike to the nearest lift house and gets some dude to turn it on to send her down the mountain. On the way down, she thinks she sees the hooker in one of the lifts coming up the mountain. Then, she feels it when he jumps on the roof. And when he knocks out the window, luckily her camera started randomly snapping pictures because she got a blurry shot of the hook to show her friends. But they don't believe her.
She didn't think to take any of the broken window? That would be better proof.
Shut up. She was scared. What do you think she is, a professional photographer?
You probably sell a bunch of artsy photos of your hometown, get rich and famous.
Oh, right. But I'd still like to know how she got out of the lift when there's only one door and a hooker on the roof.
If he wanted me dead, he could have done it.
They try to call Roger to let him know what happened, but when they can't get a hold of him, Zoe says that he's whack.
Wiggity whack? Nope, just regular time.
The guilt's really gotten to him, and he's mixing pills and alcohol to permanently make it go away.
Oh, I'm self-medicating.
Then after he writes his goodbye note, he gets the hook that Colby threw in a pond, and he's going to use it to cut his wrist open.
Suicide is never the answer, little trooper.
But that's when he hears a noise. He goes to investigate the lift house that he apparently lives in.
This place is awesome, because now I can finally get hepatitis.
When he sees something behind a tarp is only hooker shaped, the actual hooker comes out from another one.
He's always doing that.
So Roger runs from the hooker like, don't kill me, even though he just wanted to die a couple minutes ago.
Wait, this is death here.
And he even defends himself with a circular saw, but he's overpowered by the hooker and he dies. So the others show up, not realizing that he lives there, it's way past his work hours, and they find him.
He was living here.
How did you find me?
And despite his throat being slit, Amber tries to see if he's still alive.
You know how terrified I am of your IQ.
But they hear a noise and go hide in his bedroom/storeroom. They see blood and find out that not only did Roger really get the hook Ben Willis used in the Bahamas,
$39 on eBay.
but when Roger heard a noise, he safely put away a weapon.
Like a total idiot?
Zoe finds his note right as Deputy Hafner comes in. Then after taking their statements, he asks if there's anything else they want to tell him. Perhaps the secret he couldn't live with anymore? And when they say no, he's like, okay, we'll just put down that he slit his throat with a circular saw that doesn't have any blood on it.
Hundreds of people a year get killed like that.
He then grabs Amber and lets her know that he knows she's by herself this weekend, and if she needs a big strong man to keep her safe, he's there for her.
That's funny coming from you.
When they get back to Amber's, they walk into every picture she's ever taken turned into hamster bedding. All the pictures, but a few that he decoupaged into the word soon.
You're gonna die.
The next day, they go to see Lance, and Colby stupidly gets his attention while he's using a chainsaw. They ask him if he's upset about the anniversary, which he is, that was his cousin, but he tells them that they really need to worry about the sheriff. And Zoe asks why the father of their accident victim would be so upset.
The guy was special forces in the army. They live for this kind of shit.
And he's like, I don't know, maybe it has something to do with somebody killing themselves last night because they felt guilty about keeping a secret for something that happened a year ago. So they have no follow-up questions and just fuck off. But Colby has a foolproof plan to let the sheriff know that they're onto him, and that is to just leave a note on his card.
Look, I know what I'm doing.
But this one says, "We know what you're doing this summer."
Oh, I'm so scared.
Genius.
Yeah, right? So Colby goes for a workout at the pool, thinking this is all over because he stuck around to make sure the sheriff got the note.
I scared the shit out of him, alright?
He keeps hearing things, but no one's around. But when doing a flip turn, he takes a hook to the ankle. He somehow gets free and swims to the shallow end, but when he looks around again, no one's there. Amber's gonna stay with Zoe and lets her know she's just about to leave, but Lance was waiting outside her house and tells her that her friends need to stop messing with him.
I know what you did last summer.
See, PJ told him about the prank, and he didn't say anything to his uncle because he can't bang Amber if she's in prison.
That boy is obsessed.
But someone scratched "I know" on his bike.
So you didn't even need to be involved in the death to be a target now. Knowing's just enough.
You're not a doctor. You don't make that decision.
And this interaction gave Zoe enough time to fall asleep and have multiple vivid dreams about PJ really being the hooker and attacking her. And she wakes up to find that her couch is sliced up to shit.
You gotta cut your fingernails. You gotta stop that kind of dreaming.
So after Colby goes to the hospital, has his wound patched up, and gets a boot and crutches, which would take much longer than this, he meets up with the girls and Lance to discuss going to Hafner for protection. But when they go there, Amber's like, "You said we could talk if I needed to." And his face says, "Yeah, but I wasn't expecting you to bring friends." So he invites him around back where he's hosting a poker night. And when they see Sheriff Davis is there, they just say they're worried the hooker might come back, even though they canceled the carnival. But no one's buying that crap.
I'm telling you, the dad's a red herring.
So they decide to leave town so the hooker can't get him. But they're gonna wait until morning. They meet at Zoe's barn, where she says that she's not going because she heard a talent agent might be at their small town's Battle of the Bands tonight. And since she won't go, they're all staying behind to potentially die because she wants to play one song.
But couldn't they just leave town and come back right before?
They could, but they're just gonna leave after her song, which will protect them for about 45 minutes. But Colby would rather walk home than watch Lance hit on Amber, even though he dumped her, so he fucks off.
See, Colby, and you can break up with me.
Zoe has band practice, as Amber shows Lance the scrapbook they made of the murders the hooker did.
Every 4th of July, he gets out his hat and slicker, he sharpens up his hook, and runs wild.
But only after teenagers.
Liar!
Nope, a nope, a nope, a nope, definitely nope, a nope, nope, a nope, oh no.
And because he wants to bang her, he doesn't mention how fucking stupid the idea of having the Gordon's fishermen attacking people at a carnival in a town known for skiing is.
Because it sounds suspiciously made up.
Then, because they might die tonight, they bang.
You want some?
Probably.
You really think it's that easy?
That night, they meet at the festival and still plan on watching Zoe, then getting the fuck out of Dodge.
Even though literally nothing has happened to them all day.
Okay, this is his day. Whatever he has planned is gonna happen today unless we stop him.
Colby's wasted and can't be bothered to have an empty cup for Zoe's one song, so he goes to the bar that isn't open while this venue's holding an event.
Can you say alcoholic?
As Lance and Amber watch Zoe sing, Amber notices the sheriff watching them, but neither one of them see Hafner.
I'm invisible.
Then, after her song, they meet in the green room where they insist on leaving. Zoe's like, "Calm down," and then the hooker jumps out at her.
Surprise, motherfucker.
They run to the locker room and corner themselves. So now they have to run past the hooker to get out. Then somehow, Zoe got separated and went upstairs to a storage room and can't get the next door to open, so she starts screaming. But the hooker can't open the door and kicks it in to get Zoe, and she gets stabbed in the stomach and thrown over a ledge, and she dies. The other two heard her and came up the stairs right as she was being killed, so Amber screams to make sure he knows that they're right there to kill as well. So they take off, but make sure to stop by Zoe's body to grieve for a minute, and cover themselves in her blood.
You know how terrified I am of your IQ.
They hear somebody come in, so they hide, and it's their number one suspect, Sheriff Davis.
This is our fucking killer.
But Lance has a bug on his shirt, so Amber's like, "Icky," and smacks it. So the sheriff knows they're there and orders him to come out. But the hooker comes out and stabs the sheriff, and he dies. They run away and call Colby to warn him, but the hooker's already in the bar. He takes off for the kitchen where he grabs a knife and manages to stab the hooker in the back. But he ditches the knife for a rolling pin, and when he's hiding behind a door with a window, the hooker punches through the window, stabs him in the face, and he dies. Then his friends show up and follow his blood to the dumpster.
Man, now that's a real shame when folks be throwing away a perfectly good white boy like that.
When they go outside, they run into Hafner, and he tells them that he talked to Roger last week, and he knows what they did last summer.
Somebody knows now.
I know what you did last summer.
Then why did Roger say they needed to go to the cops if he already talked to one?
Because Hafner told him to keep it a secret.
Why would a cop do that?
Because just like Lance, he can't bang Amber if she's in prison.
What is this, some kind of group therapy session?
But he did illegally search her Jeep and found the hook, so he orders him at gunpoint into his vehicle. And because they're not handcuffed, when they open the door, Zoe's body's in the back seat. So they're like, ah, you're the killer! But then the hooker shows up, and Hafner fires 2 shotgun shells at him, but the hooker just keeps coming. Then he hooks Hafner in the dick, lifts him up, backs him into a forklift, and he dies. And OSHA would not be happy about this death at all. Keep your forks down, people. So while the hooker's admiring his work, Amber hits him with Hafner's SUV. But when he gets up, we see that he's just a rotting corpse.
I told you he was a ghost.
Yes, you're very smart. Shut up.
So she tries to restart the car, but it won't turn over. But this gives the hooker time to come over and attack Amber through the window. She dodges, grabs the hook Hafner took from her Jeep, and stabs the hooker, who screams like a pterodactyl.
It'd be really cool if you guys wouldn't tell people I scream like that.
He also has black blood and disappears. Amber's theory is that the legend that they made up has come true, and Ben Willis's ghost is getting revenge for PJ.
I don't think we're that powerful.
So he's like Pumpkinhead.
Well, Pumpkinhead is the demon of vengeance that you have to summon. The hooker's like the spirit of vengeance for people who died on the 4th of July and had people cover it up to save their own asses. But also kills people who had nothing to do with it too.
We're the victims here.
Okay, oddly specific, but Ben wasn't actually killed on the 4th of July. They just thought they killed him.
True, but he did die on the 4th 2 years later when he was getting revenge for them covering up his death after he murdered somebody. You know, now that I think about it, this story would make so much more sense if this was David Egan's ghost getting revenge. At least he was actually murdered.
Maybe, but why does he have to wait a full year to come back?
Well, either it was written this way to make everyone a red herring, or they just had a full year to come clean before he would do anything.
Then why did he go after Roger early?
Because he was about to take himself out, and you can't have revenge on a dead guy.
But that's not the same thing.
He's just lucky that Roger waited until it was close enough to the 4th for him to come back. And Amber and Lance are lucky that Roger was such a cheap ass that he went diving for a hook that he only wasted $39 on because it's the real one that Ben used to kill with, and it's the only thing that can hurt his ghost. And now that they know this, they're going on offense and try to lure him into a garage. Then, knowing he only has one weakness, attach the hook to this thing hanging from the ceiling, and they're going to swing it at him when he comes through the door. But the hooker is a ghost and just teleports in front of Lance. Then when he jumps out of the way, she drops the thing but misses. Then Lance gets thrown into the mechanic's pit. Amber then manages to find the hook on the ground somehow and attacks, but she gets thrown down with Lance. Now the hooker's above them slashing at him, but Amber stabs him in the foot, so he fucks off. Then they run outside, where he attacks him again. Lance fights him while Amber starts up the blower cat, but he loses the hook while she can only get the windshield wipers to work. But when he's about to take out Lance, she gets the snowblower going, so she's going to run the hooker over, but he just teleports to the door and yanks her out. He's dragging her to throw her in the rotating blades, but Lance hits him with the wrench. Then remembers he took Hafner's gun and unloads on him. But then Amber gets the hook and plunges it in the hooker's head. She then pushes him into the blades, and he gets chopped up, and he dies. Again. They tell the cops that the guy who killed everyone was the same dude from last year, but they don't know what he looks like. But they say he won't be murdering anyone anymore.
Yeah, that's right. I give it another year and he's coming after your ass.
So they either said that they chopped up a dude with black blood,
was the dead guy,
or that the killer was nice enough to spare him. Then Pinky promised that he would not be killing anyone from that town ever again.
Why, now that he's a supernatural being, is his plan less complicated? He had to do way more in less time when he was alive.
Well, keep in mind, he's now the spirit of vengeance for anyone who was killed on the 4th of July and had people cover it up to save their own asses. And he's got to be anywhere in the world that happened. And it probably happens a lot, so he's got a lot of ground to cover.
So he's kind of like Santa Claus.
And when you've got that many revenge plots going, they all can't be as intricate as when it was just his.
It's gonna be tough every year.
Don't worry, this is over.
Win me a monkey.
Alright, but if I win, you gotta subscribe.
Is that a yes or a no?
Oh, yeah!
It's over. For good.